All right, so it was really good to see everyone again. Um, like I mentioned in one of the groups that I saw today, you're my third 13U 5 tool team that I've seen in the last week. And of the three teams, you guys are so far like the most physically strong team I've come across of the 13Us so far, in terms of your guys' just physical size appearance. So um, definitely shows that for most of you guys been putting in a lot of quality work with your bodies and transforming them in a good, positive, strong way. So good job on that. Tip of the cap to you guys on taking care of your bodies and getting them stronger, especially for those of us that are getting it prepared for our first high school tryouts, and the others of us that are going into our eighth grade year here with high school tryouts right on the corner. So keep working on getting those bodies stronger each and every day. And those links that I sent your coach, like I said and told you guys today, have arm care and lower body mobility and stability drills to help us with finding little ways each and every day to get better. So what we got here is just 9 different guys. Some names you may know, some uh, you may not, but I've gotten all these nine, no, not nine, sorry, 4, 8, 12 guys pause at the same point in time in their delivery. And that is as soon as the front foot has hit the ground, which we call this position front foot strike. And right when the foot hits the ground, right when the foot hits the ground, right when the foot hits the ground, and so on. So that's where all of these different guys are at this current time, is front foot strike position. We can kind of see that there are some universal things that every pitcher, no matter the size, what handed, arm slot, what it may be, that we want to try to get to some checkpoints. One is at front foot strike is the very first time that our throwing hand, has flipped up, or the hand has gotten above the elbow. And at this point in time, we're looking for the ball to be facing the same direction our chest is. So for lefties, that'd be ball facing first base. Righty, that'd be balls facing third base. We're also looking for our glove to be about like, percentage wise, depending on how big of a path your glove took, we're like 70-80% of the way with that glove in its finish. And as we can see here, every one of these guys' gloves is within its body, within their body, right? Within their body. Maybe the elbow's outside, but the glove is within the body. The glove is within the body. Another thing we can see is with a lot of these guys is that we can still see the baseball at front foot strike on their backside, on their backside, on their backside, backside. Still slightly on the backside with Cueto. Same with Charlie Morton down there. Another thing that we can see is belt buckles. I see a whole lot of belt buckles facing us, the target, the catcher. And in order for that to occur, we need the back hip to have been driven forward. All right, we need the back hips to start to come forward. And in order for the back hip to come forward, we need to have driven off of our back foot. We need to have driven off our back foot through our big toe, through the big toe. through the big toe, through the big toe. We're not lifting the heel up off the ground. We're like folding the foot over. Imagining that our base of our foot has Velcro on it and we're stuck to another sticky side of Velcro. And we're going to peel our foot off by taking like the outside of our foot and peeling it forward, which then helps bring our knee in, which helps rotate our knee and our foot, and our hip then gets to go forward. So you kind of take that thought process and see how he's kind of peeling it off the ground while thinking, keep my big toe on the ground so everything can fold over my big toe. And when it gets over the big toe, that's when we can start to see the back hip. And if we do that with Reggie, can't see the back foot as well. Okay, here we go. I can see it better here. He's trying to peel it off the ground. Peel it off the ground through what? Through that big toe. And here comes that back hip. Here comes that back hip. Here comes that back hip into front foot strike. Who else's foot can we see? Okay, we can see Ramon's. Same thing. He's trying to peel that foot off the ground, not lift the heel up, but he's trying to keep the heel on the ground for as long as possible. So then he can roll over the big toe, which then brings that back hip forward. Back hip starting to come forward. Back hip starting to come forward. Back hip starting to come forward. Keuchel, same thing. Peeling that back foot off the ground, folding over the front toe, which brings that back hip forward. Chapman's one of the best at it. Boom. 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 All right. So on and so forth. Every one of these guys has their own delivery, their own leg lift, their own stride, but we can see how very similar that back foot drive process is. That's the movement we have to do with the back foot in order to get the shin, knee, thigh, and all the bones in there to move in a specific way that then pushes that back hip forward. That then pushes that back hip forward. Pushes that back hip forward. Okay? From there, we can see that the stride direction is very different from one another, right? Like we have like Sanchez, Ramon, Familia, all very similar positions with their stride. And then you got guys like Crawford, Chapman, Keuchel, who are kind of more slightly like this front foot's going towards like and lined up with like their back foot's toes, where like Sanchez, Ramon, and Familia's front foot is lined up with like their back foot's heel. And then you got guys who are even more extreme than that, where like Arrieta, Nathan Evaldi, Joe Kelly, Johnny Cueto, and Charlie Morton, where their front foot is striding in front of their back foot's front toe. So for the righties, third base side of their front or the back toe. So what's going to happen now, because each of these guys have all gotten the back hip to come through, all of their upper bodies are relatively in very similar positions, but their front feet are all in different spots. Like these three, same spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, same spot. And then, excuse me, these guys in their own spots. So like class 1, class 2, and then class 3, if we call it like that. So what we have to think about now is all of the rotational energy of that back hip coming forward and this front hip opening up. That's rotation energy. All of the energy of that back foot driving us forward into that stride, into front foot strike, driving energy back from the backside to the front side, driving energy from the backside to the front side, driving energy from the backside to the front side. That's a linear energy. So we need to take that linear energy and that rotational energy that our lower half has gone through, and now we need to send it up to our upper half as quickly as we can. So that way, as our upper half is going through its rotational energy, it can be fed that lower half's energy. So then the upper half can work even faster, even smoother, even more stress-free on the arm to produce maximum amount of power. So if we watch the guys that have the knee, or the stride rather, in the very same position, so Sanchez, Ramon, and Familia, if we watch, their knee is not going to move hardly at all to the glove side, to the glove side. It's just going to pretty much lock out, which allows that back shoulder to come forward, which allows that, which then allows the back shoulder to come forward. Which allows the back shoulder to come forward. Now you have the guys where the knee is slightly like across the body or in front of the body, like the Crawford. We will see as he rotates, the knee will slightly roll out, but then it'll quickly stop and lock out the same way these legs locked out. So Crawford is going to start to swivel out a little bit, and now it's not going to swivel no more, and it's going to just lock out so the back shoulder can rotate energy down and out in front the same way. So Keuchel, we said, was in the same similar situation. We'll see his front knee slightly roll out. There's that slight roll out from there to there, but now it's going to lock out the rest of the way. Boom, 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 boom. We might see a slight little roll out here on Lester. Nope, it just held the whole time until it locked out. Chapman is probably not going to roll out at all. It's going to just lock out from there. Boom. Oh, little roll out, but then locked out from there. Okay, now the guys that have the far stride across their body, who are what people would say they're striding across their body or throwing across their body. Watching what the knee does there, just stays in place. It's just locking out, and then his body comes through that leg or around that leg. Same thing, locking out, and then the body's coming around that leg or through the leg. Joe Kelly, just locking out, and then coming through that leg or around that leg. Cueto is just staying. Oh, that doesn't go much further. Sorry. Wish I would have known that. Charlie Morton doesn't go anywhere, just locks out. So you can rotate around it or through it. Okay, so with those thoughts in mind about the things we're looking for at front foot strike and what that then allows our body to do after while we throw the baseball, we will then get you guys into your front foot, or show you what you guys look like at your front foot strike position. After one more time of getting to see again what these positions look like at front foot strike, which again is the moment that front leg or your stride leg, your leg lift leg, makes contact with the ground. So there's front foot strike again. Glove by body. Looking to have arm back behind head, if not even to behind our back. We're looking to see belt buckle, and most importantly, that back hip coming forward or through. The reason it's come forward or through is because the back foot has turned over and rotated and driven away or peeled away from the pitching rubber. And then we want to make sure that that front knee, when it lands, the position it's in, depending on where the front foot lands, if it's straight in front, like tier 1 over here, like we said, then it just locks out. Locks out. If it's in like the tier but next to that, then it can roll out a little bit, but then it's got to lock out from there. And we notice that it always locked out and stopped moving and stabilized. It rolled a little bit. It rolled a little bit, then it stabilized. And look, the ball still hasn't even came from behind his head yet. By the time it stabilized, and now it's just locking out, locking out, locking out. Or if we're way across our body, we have to just straight lock it out from there and really make sure that we can get that back hip to keep continuing to come through. Keep continuing to come through. It's a little fun tongue twister. Make sure it keeps coming through. Make sure the back hip keeps coming through if we're getting our stride across our body. Again, there's nothing wrong with throwing across our body. We just got to make sure that that hip can keep coming through. All right, so that's those ones right there. And then we'll start bringing you guys up to see your positions. At your front foot strikes. So I'll give you just a moment there to kind of find you and where you're at on the screen, and then to kind of see what your body looks like compared to all those images we just saw. So some of the things that we were looking for would be that glove being in that finished position, that glove getting to that finished position, that glove getting to that finished position, finished position, finished position, finished position, finished position. Looking to see if we can get that back there. And that mostly for us in our camera view is my perspective and my angle of the camera, right? So as long as we're not seeing this, we know we're good, we know we're good, we know we're good, we know we're good, we know we're good. We can even kind of see it right there, and we know we're good. Okay, why are we not good here? Because look how much the shoulders are open at front foot strike. Yeah, this is a fantastic spot, but look where the shoulders are also at that point in time. Right? So boom, foot's down. Oh, that's why. Okay. So we'll get there in a second. Okay? And also we can see shoulders open slightly at your front foot strike position. All right. Can we see belt buckle? Yes, but can we see the back hip? No. Can we see the belt buckle? Yes, but can we see the back hip? Kind of. Can we see the back hip? Yes. Can we see the back hip? Kind of, yeah. Obviously, we can see the back hip. Yes, we can see the back hip. Not really, and not really. So, we will now take each of yours and kind of let them play through, looping over and over again, so you can keep taking a look at keep seeing what we're looking at, and see how you're getting to this position and what you look like then throwing through that position. All right, so I'll let this play for a moment so you guys can kind of take a look at everything that's going on in your particular video. Also, let you take some time to kind of maybe take a look at the other guys's and compare and contrast some of the things that you're doing to what they're doing. All right, so if we start yours from the top here, bud, we got a good high leg lift. Our glove comes out in a pretty good initial path in position to help keep our upper body wanting to stay closed. At front foot strike, we can see that as the foot as the foot starts coming down, it's in a slightly closed position, meaning the heel is closer to us right now than your toes are, or your toes are facing more towards like the shortstop, helping your heel lead the way, or another way to think about it is your knee now is staying closed. But we watch the foot kind of very quickly gets out of that heel leading the way to the toes and the heels being both equal distance to us right now, which means very quickly after that, boom, the toes are going to be to us closer than the heel is, which means now the knee is starting to open up. Okay. Which is okay. We just are trying to have everything rotate as late as possible. But everything has to start at some point. So now we need to start rotating everything, and we can see that the foot is rotating a whole lot more than that knee is. So once we get into front foot strike, we're going to be more of the boom, there's front foot strike. We're more of the leg on a, let me get a righty version of that for you. No. More of here. All right, something more along the lines of this, but even more so than that. So let's get Charlie Morton. Yes, it's a Charlie Morton, but it's not a Charlie Morton angled here. So who else could we go with? Here it is. Cueto. All right. So boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Very similar. So now it's making sure as we throw that that knee locks out to get out. Does this knee lock out? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay. So the lower body seems to be looking good from the front view. Everything with the glove finish and the glove path looks very good from the front view. When we get to that front foot strike position, we're good here. We're still closed. We can kind of see something weird is happening with that back foot right there. Something weird is happening with that back foot. And it's going to be a whole lot easier to see why that is from the side view. But we can tell that when we use those phrases on what we want that back foot to be doing, we said like peeling away from the rubber, we can see we're more just lifting that heel off the ground, or our body's weight is just all going to our toes instead of staying flat footed or keeping the weight in all of our foot, more in the middle of our foot, or keeping weight in the heel of our foot. We allowed our body weight to go to the toes, so now we can't drive. So when it would come time to drive, we just lose contact with the ground and the foot just kicks out from underneath us. That process will be a lot easier seen from the side view. Okay. Next. Slide over. Slide over. Slide over. Slide down. Okay. This is Mr. Brown. Yes, it is. Okay. Good high leg lift. I see we are still in the camp and the fan and liking the knee coming up and being in sync with the leg lift, which I like. Keeps everything nice and fluid. So as long as we can keep that good consistency like we see here, let's keep that up. When we got to our front foot strike position, we can see that the inside part of our foot kind of hits first. Boom. So now we're going to have to obviously get the rest of our foot in the ground, which is going to kind of have this effect to our knee, which is going to kind of jolt it out. So we'll be able to see these next few frames as this foot gets connected to the ground completely, how this knee now is going to, boom, kind of jolt out. Now that energy of it jolting out has to like stop. So we have this energy in our knee now that's going outwards. Our foot's flat in the ground now, but once that energy outward started, we got to find something that can stop it. And we can see how it just keeps kind of going until here, right around this time, we're able to finally catch it. And now we can get that knee stable, but we can see what has happened, that the ball now is already out by that time. So we're doing a pretty darn good job with that back foot, doing what we're talking about, peeling away, trying to peel away, and go down the mound. But it's also a lot of just heel also going up, It's trying to, but it's just not able to. Okay. So now we get there. That side of the foot hits first. Now it's got to get flat in the ground. And the knee had to roll from there. The knee keeps rolling till there. And we can see how the knee starts to come towards towards us, or the target, as well. And the reason for that is because this back foot takes power and energy from the back and sends it forward. The front foot catches that energy. Now we got to stop it from being in the foot, and we got to send it up. And we do that by locking that knee out. But we can see, because that knee's got to roll first, then stabilize. By the time it starts to lock out, the ball is well out of our hands. So the power that we currently are creating is our momentum that you're getting down the mound. This movement right here, this energy you're getting right here, is what's fueling your velocity, your power, your arm speed, or your arm power plus your arm speed, is coming from this movement of gaining momentum. Now we need to drive and accelerate that momentum by using our back leg and our front leg. So that way, our upper body that's already getting into a good position can get fed good energy out in front. We can see how we're just kind of reaching out there, trying to get that last bit of energy of the ball to go forward instead of just around. You just, who do we say we're using? Where's Cueto? Just missing on that opportunity to get out in front with that release. Versus to the side. And then now it could be coming out. Just that little bit. And it's just like 0.1 second there, 0.3 seconds there, 0.1 second there, that we're just off by things that then just add up to like half a second at release. But overall, pretty darn close to what we want to be occurring with the upper half. Now it's just getting that back foot to drive on time and to get our energy flowing outwards better instead of just kind of more stationary. And again, the side view will help explain that better as well once we get there. So more swivels here. Okay. All right. Good high leg lift. We get this out into a good strong position. I like that right out the gate. Legs out into a position where we could really find a good sit position, but we kind of stay pretty tall. And what I mean by good sit position, for someone that's going to be kicking that leg out as much as that, we can kind of see like how much more a guy like Chapman is getting down and deep sit in that back knee versus how much rather like you are. But again, a lot of that's dealing with flexibility, mobility, and lower body strength, but just something to think about. If we feel at our strongest with this amount of bend, then that's for you. But maybe if that knee was a little bit more bent and we could sit a little bit more, we would be a little bit more explosive driving away from this rubber. But anyway, let's get to front foot strike. Boom. Boom. So we can see we're in a pretty good position here. That back hip's coming through. But like we said, we can kind of see the shoulders starting to want to rotate a little early. So we got to think. Lower body goes through its process. We land into our front foot strike. Then we rotate our upper body. And the more that we can keep... Oh, sorry, dude. My fault over here. The more that we can keep that upper body back into a position that's like here at the moment this foot hits the ground and all that weight gets into it, the more rotational force we're going to have with that upper half. The more upper, lower half separation we achieve. And if we look at this, we can see, boom, can't see any of his logo of his jersey. We can read all of 5-tool. So we need to think about keeping this. How can we keep this upper body in more of a this position with the chest, our trunk, for longer? Well, we can see how this glove wants to finish, and the more that that glove goes through its finishing process, the more that that front shoulder starts to open up. So we got to find a way to get this glove to stay out longer or not finish or begin its finishing moves. Right here is when it begins to finish. When it begins to finish, it begins to finish. We got to find a way to either delay that or get the glove to be in a different spot when it begins its finish, so that way when it gets to here, this elbow isn't so far outside your body. So that way the elbow can't keep going, which then pulls the shoulder as well. All right, so then beyond that, what do we see? We see that that knee goes out a little bit. The knee goes out a little bit. And now it's stable, but ball's well out of your hand already. So our lower body never stops its rotation to shoot it up. We can also say our lower body is never strong and stable before we throw the baseball, because our front leg is constantly moving and rotating outwards, 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 versus that front leg landing and then that knee that has a bend to it straightening out or locking out. So we need to think about the glove and how we can finish it so it doesn't open us up early at front foot strike. And then we have to learn how to firm up this front side, strengthen up this front side leg, so that way it doesn't rotate open like that as we're trying to rotate our shoulders through. Oh, I just noticed, look at that. Those three are almost all together. Oop. All right. Oh. It's a pretty good leg lift height. We'll pause you at front foot strike. Okay, so we can see that glove's in that good position. We can see the shoulders have slightly started to rotate, but all in all, pretty good position with the upper body at our front foot strike position. We can see belt buckle. We can see that back hip trying to come on through. We can see pretty darn good position with this front leg here. Let's watch what happens to that front knee over these next few frames. Yes, it rotates out a little bit. Is it going to stabilize and stop and start to lock out? Yes, it is. We can even see it in the wrinkles in the pant there. They're starting to stiffen out. The ball is still in our hands while that's occurring, so that's good timing on that. And now it's how much energy are we putting through this ball down and around. So let's just watch as we come through. And what happens with that front leg? Something weird happens there, right? So let's watch. We're starting to lock this out. Boom. And then instead of keeping this stiff and accelerating this trunk, wham, wham, down and around, down and around, which would have this back foot come up and around. Watch what happens to this foot and this knee. It bends again. And that sends our body this way. And it prevents us from finishing that way, that way, that way more. So why that's happening, I'm not too sure. Is it a strength thing? It could be. Or is it a flexibility thing? Is it I'm a guy who can't touch my toes with my knees not bending, and now as I'm trying to get more out in front and around, my hamstring literally just can't allow it, so I have to bend, otherwise my hamstring would snap. So I'd be curious to know if you are a guy who can touch his toes or not, or if you are a guy that has really tight hamstrings and a tight lower back. Because if that is the case, if you just have tight hamstrings and tight lower back, we can get that squared away. Not easy peasy. It's going to take some time, but it's going to be pretty easy work. If it is not a flexibility thing and you can touch your toes and you don't have a tight lower back, then it's going to be us just figuring out what different drills we can do to train you so that way that front leg stays that way, and we just keep working over front of it. We just keep hinging at the hips. We keep hinging at the waist, down, down, down more. Keep hinging at the waist, down, down, down more. To get there. To get... Keiko's not going to go through any further because the video stops. To be able to go down more. Where's Ramon? To be able to throw and get out in front. See how he locks out and it stays locked out. Boom. Look where he's way over here. He's not just release, but through release. You try to get through release, but then that hamstring doesn't keep bend, or the knee bends. It doesn't stay locked out. I think it has to probably be a hamstring thing. I mean, look at this right here. This is like a huge. I mean, that's just fuego power. Yeah. I'll pause it at, and we'll go some frame by frame. That's locked out. Look how far down he is there. Boom. Boom. Right there. And stiff the whole time, all the way through that back leg, coming all the way up and around. Stiff the whole time, all the way up and around. So probably a hamstring thing, maybe a hamstring thing, hopefully a hamstring thing. If not, that'll be a fun little try to figure out some drills to help you with that. But now that your video is done being watched, stand up, touch your toes. If you can't do it, the rest of the video you're doing hamstring stretches. All right, what we got here? So from the top, another guy that seems to want to move the hands with the leg lift, but we kind of notice that it's not as smooth as, who was our guy? Yep, Round Town. Noticing how much smoother, how everything just seems like the glove is pulling the knee up, and then the glove goes down, allowing the knee to go down. That's the smoothness, the symmetricalness, the mirroring that we want to get when we move our glove with our knee. But we can kind of see that it starts that way. The glove's pulling the knee up, but then all of a sudden the knee keeps going, but the glove's not still going. Not that that is anything that's like super important, but just something to think about, that like your hands are moving with your knee to create rhythm, but then that rhythm very quickly gets broken. So why did we create rhythm if we're going to stop that rhythm very shortly after? Kind of a rhetorical question for you just to kind of think about. But doing a good job of putting this glove in a position to keep ourselves closed. Getting ourselves, we can see, look at that. The inside of our big toe hits first, then the heel, then the whole foot finally gets in the ground, and we can see where this knee is. It's very much in front of our body, or across our body, however you like to see that perspective. Front foot's very closed off, which isn't an issue, but it's interesting to see that it matches the angle of your thigh in the same direction your kneecap is going, your toe is going. So this is very much, I'm just trying to, and when I say I mean, I'm referring to you. I'm just trying to open up instead of rotate. You're opening up your leg instead of rotating that front leg. Instead of rotating that front leg, rotating that front leg, rotating that front leg. Instead of rotating that front leg, rotating that front leg, rotating that front leg, you're kind of trying to open your leg up. You're trying to open your leg up. And that's why that foot works a lot more than the knee does. And therefore the big toe, inside where the toe hits first, then the inside of the heel hits first, then the whole foot hits the ground. And now we're going to watch this knee. Hold on, before we get there, upper body, fantastic position. Like, of all the dudes on the squad that we've seen so far, best upper body position at front foot strike. Unfortunately, it's come at the cost and the sacrifice of the lower body having done really anything in terms of power production. So luckily, the upper body is in such a good position that it will be able to produce a pretty decent amount of power. Unfortunately, that decent amount of power cannot be amplified or multiplied because of what the lower body does. And in fact, because the lower body has done so little, the upper body is going to get subtracted now a little bit because it's going to have to pull, drag, and rotate the lower body for it instead of the lower body already doing it itself. So if the lower body does its rotation and gets into a good spot and gets that back hip forward before or as that front foot hits the ground, and that that upper body looks the way yours does, so I mean, boom, your upper body, Ramon's upper body, almost identical, right? But we can just see how much more his lower body has progressed through its rotation at this point in time. We can see his belt buckle. We can barely see your belt buckle. We can see his back hip coming through. Your back hip is nowhere to be seen. We can see his foot and your foot are in very similar positions in relation to the back foot. Obviously, your toe would need to be here, and your knee would need to be more here. But I mean, everything else is exactly here. So, in order for your front foot to get where Ramon is, boom. Look how much upper body rotation we have to sacrifice. The ball's out of your hand already before we get your front leg looking like this. If we said this is get the back leg to look more like Ramon's, it would be like there. But we can see that if we just played it from here, this knee right here is going to continue to get to right here. And again, the ball's out by the time that knee is in a position where it can then lock out. Where it can lock out. So that means once we can get your back leg to fire on time and get your knee to rotate open, not just your foot open, you get your knee to rotate, we're going to produce a lot more power. So we just got to learn how to use our lower body, especially now that we're going to be on a mound full time while we pitch and not just whenever the tournament may have it ready for us. All right, we just got the bottom three now. Ooh. Okay. So from the top, Good high leg lift. So boom, front foot strike. We can see belt buckle. We can see back hip. We can see that back foot did a lot of the similar movements that we saw those big leaguer videos doing, that peeling away from that rubber. Peeling away from that rubber, which then allows that back hip to come through. Okay, so that's real good there. See the gloves in a good position. And now we just watch as things come through. We can see how that knee in the front kind of still hasn't stabilized. Now it's stabilized. Now it locks out. Now it locks out. Now it locks out. We're coming through. We're coming through. So the only thing I would say is thinking about firming up this front side knee a little bit. So maybe we don't have to have that little bit of wobble, before we can start locking out. But again, a little bit is okay, especially with the mount. We can see how that mount is even kind of wobbling a little bit, right? But I like everything that we're seeing here. Now it's just a matter of, are we getting enough momentum before we start that drive process off the back leg to maximize our body's ability to create as much power as we possibly can. But everything through here looks good. The front shoulder is not opening up to get the back shoulder to come through. It's just simply the back shoulder coming forward, coming forward, coming forward. The eyes are fighting to stay on the target. Everything's looking pretty clean there. I like that. All right, so from the top, all right, we see a lot of things happening. And we can notice on all the guys' videos that are going through here, you're one of the few guys, aka one of the only guys, aka the only guy who hunches, 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 hunches during our leg lift. And if I remember correctly, this was something we talked about last year, is if your body hunches, your leg is not going to want to lift as high as it should, because it has the illusion in your brain that your leg is closer to your body, your chest, so therefore you must have raised your leg really high, where in fact you just raised your leg barely to your waist and you just dropped your chest down. Okay, now that we're in this angle, we're going to eventually get out of that angle and add an extra step. Angle it, and now get tall. And we're right back to being tall. So, nothing's wrong with that hunch, but just know that there's some extra things that come with it. It's going to minimize our ability to get that leg up as high. And we're going to have to get those hips from being, our chest hung over so much to being more upright again, which is just an extra step, which is no problem as long as we have time for it and we can execute it. So we can see at front foot strike, boom, front foot strike, boom, glove a little bit outside of our body, elbow a little bit outside of our body, which is opening up that front shoulder because we can start to see our 5-tool logo. All right. If we look, is that back foot driving, or is it that heel coming off the ground just straight up? It looks like it's a little bit of both, but we can see by the time that it wants to drive that back foot, this front foot's already hitting the ground, so that when the drive's occurring, it can't actually drive the body forward at all because the body is stopped. It's on the rubber already, or the It's on the pitching mound already. Sorry, obviously, as you can see, it is late, and I've been doing a lot of these videos today. Okay, so we can see by the time that front foot gets into the ground and stable, how we're already slightly open. Glove and elbow is probably the reason that shoulder is getting to that position. Now, if we watch this knee, we can see how it kind of gives, and by the time it's not giving anymore, ball's already out, and now we can attempt to lock our knee out, which we see we kind of struggle with and never really get to. Okay, so we need to think about getting this knee rotated and not just worrying about our foot being straight in line again, not just worrying about getting our foot in straight line with our back foot, but we got to rotate our legs, specifically our knee, to get it better aligned at front foot strike at the moment the foot hits the ground. So that way the knee does not have to be rotating to get there. And once it gets there, it's not going to stop magically because it's been going like this the whole time. It's going to continue for a bit before we can stop it. And by that time, it's too late. The ball's out. So we just ran out of time. All right. Am I going to be able to finish this before the computer needs to be plugged in? Let's see. 9%, baby. All right. So, all right. So, one of the things that I was talking to you today was the reason that we were set up in this position we were, where it looked like your hands were in front of your front shoulder, and then from your back shoulder to the midsection of your ribs was kind of curled back towards second base. And the reason I was asking you what particular reason you had for being in such a unique position was because there seemed to have been some reason you were there because, like I said, it was so unique. So I was curious to know what your thought process was or what that was there for to help you do. You said to help get your hips going or your hips out in front, or I'm not really sure what you say because you more use body movements than words. So what I want you to think about and just kind of notice is because of that position and how quickly you start pushing your hips forward, right? You're kind of lifting that front hip, elevating that front hip and dipping that back hip, right? You're tucking that back hip or you're curling that back hip. There's a lot of different ways to kind of phrase it depending on how it's been explained or taught to you or told to you. And we can kind of see when that happens how much our upper body now is just dipping and dropping back towards second base. And then we kind of get into this position here, which, yes, this position has power potential to it. But for you and your body and your ability to move mass, your own body's mass, which obviously we know mass just to be weight, right? So we get then to here, which at front foot strike, everything looks good with this front side, right? That front foot finally settles in. The glove looks good. The upper body's good. The belt's through. The back hip's through. Everything looks picture-wise looks good. But you start to look at the back foot, and we'll be able to see this better. And with most of us, we'll be able to see some of these other things that we've been talking about better from the side view. is that this back foot, the heel just kind of comes off the ground. The heel's just coming off the ground. The heel's just coming off the ground because we're not really driving the back foot. We're not driving energy from the back to the front. And visually, just from today and from the one video from the side and this one video from the front that we took, it's appearing that the reason that we can't drive on time is because the hips are so far out in front of us that we don't have enough body weight or body mass still on our back leg to propel body weight, body mass to the front leg. And because we don't have enough body weight on our back leg still anymore, we just kind of roll onto our toe on that back leg. That back foot just kind of rolls onto its toe, rolls onto its toe, rolls onto its toe. Instead of driving the back foot to get there, instead of more driving that back foot, driving that back foot to get the body to go forward, to drive that body's mass and that body's energy forward. All right, we watch the back foot. It kind of gets caught from behind. You can't see it there on his. The back foot, drive, it's turning over. Or yours is just the kind of the heels going up. And by the time your foot does that drive over, watch where it's going to go. It's going to start kicking out this way. Boom. It just kind of kicks out. And now the thing is this back foot is kicking out this way. The same time your arm is rotating out this way. Which isn't necessarily like a bad thing, but like we don't really want the leg to be swooping out. Like maybe coming in, maybe the back knee, this back knee comes forward. I don't know if any of the guys that I pulled up have that. They're mostly up and around. That was up and around. Is Arietta? No, Arieta's kind of up and around as well. Yeah, Iovaldi should. Yeah, you can't see the camera's kind of moving. Like that back foot comes off the ground, but it's not coming out. The knee's just going to come straight forward. Before then, the whole leg comes around once it's airborne. Your foot's dragging on the ground underneath you, behind you, before it then comes up and around. And it's again, like from what I was seeing today in this video, and again, we'll see it from the side, it just looks like because of how quickly, or this tilt that we're getting with the hips, it just gets the hips and your body's mass, which is so much of this hip region, your core, your hips, your glutes, your hamstrings, and your quads are all in this area, and they get so far out in front of you, or so far away from your back foot, or so far away from the pitching rubber, that when it's time for you to drive off that back leg, there's just like 10%, 20% of your body weight only there left. So you can't really drive a whole lot of energy forward off that back leg, and therefore that's why it just kind of goes up onto the toes, and we never really get it to turn over until after foot strike. So by the time it turns over, now we're here. So we've missed out on a lot of that ability to create some more power with our lower half by our hips, I think, just getting out too quick, too soon. But again, you're seeing McCaddy, who's a great dude, pitched for a long time. He knows his stuff. Obviously, his dad had a fantastic coaching career. So I don't want to change anything that you're doing that's going to mess up and interfere with his path and progress for you. But it would be something to maybe show him this clip of you and what we've been talking about here and get his thoughts and feedback on it. Hopefully that's everyone, and I didn't forget anyone. And if I did, I will do another one and add it to it.